Okay, so in this lesson today, we're going to create a curve around the body of our guitar, and we are going to get all of our pocket outlines ready, and then we are going to rename our layer. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work in the top grid. So double click on that to zoom in. And I'm going to zoom in a bit on my model here so I can see what we're working with. And the tool we're going to use most of the time for this lesson is this tool right here. So if I hover over it, it's called the control point curve. If we click and hold down, we'll get a bunch of different options with it, but we're just going to use the control point curve for today. So I get some options here when I click on this, and the most important one for this is the degree. So I'm just going to set this to 1 for right now to show you some different things that happens when you change the degree. So how the tool works is you have your little control points here, and what we're going to do is we're just going to go around the outline of the guitar, and we're going to kind of trace it with our control points here. So I'm not going to do the whole guitar with a degree of 1 because it's not quite what we want, but I want to show you how the degree affects it. So I'm going to press enter and finish that line. And if we zoom in on the guitar here, we can see that we have a pretty jagged edge, and this is going to translate when we go to cut the guitar. We don't want any jagged edges on our guitar, we want a nice smooth finish. So I'm just going to select this curve, press delete and get rid of that because that's not quite what we want. I'm going to go back to the curve tool, and I'm going to change the degree to 2. And now basically all I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the entire guitar, zoomed in pretty close, and I'm just going to trace it. And as you can see here, instead of getting those jagged edges, we get a nice round curve on our guitar here. So it's going to take me a couple minutes. I'm going to go all the way around the guitar. You can do the same. And I'm just going to trace the outline of the entire guitar here. And then we'll go from there. So as you can see here, this is a pretty tight curve compared to other parts of the guitar. So we have to put our control points a little bit closer together for it to follow. And as we come up to the neck of the guitar here, I'm going to have to put 2 control points almost side by side. As you can see here, zoom in a bit, they're very close together, and that is so that I can get a nice tight curve to make it around the corner. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here too. 2 points almost side by side. Just going to go Command Z. I don't think those are quite close enough together. Maybe that looks a little bit better. And I'm just going to carry on tracing out this guitar. So as we come to the end of our curve here, I'm just going to zoom in a bit here. You can see that as I get close to this point, it'll automatically select it and it'll snap right to it. I just hit that and it'll finish off the curve. So as you can see, I can zoom out a bit. I can select this curve and kind of everything that's in this pink purple color, that's the curve that we just drew. So there are a couple more outlines that we want to finish today. So we are going to outline our cavities for our pickups, which are this one and this one in this kind of dotted line here. We're going to ignore these wire channeling pockets here because we're going to create our own over here after we're done this. And the final one we're going to do today is the volume control pocket. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use this, keep it in degree of 2. And I'm just going to do the same thing we did for the outline of the guitar. I'm going to go around and trace this. And I'm going to kind of just make it a little bit bigger than what the diagram is to make sure there's enough room to fit our pickups into the body once we get to the building stage. Just going to go all the way around. I'm going to ignore this channel here. Just keep going around, making it a little bit bigger than what this diagram is. Finish that off. That looks pretty good. I'm going to do the exact same for this pocket, make it a little bit bigger. So when we get to this section here, we don't have to make points all the way down because it's just a straight line. So I'm just going to go ahead and come right to the bottom here and add a couple more points and continue on with my curve around where this pocket is going to be. And just in case you didn't know, a pocket is a section that's going to be cut into the wood so that we can place something into it. In this case, it's going to be our pickups. So go ahead and finish that off. That looks good. Now for the final 2 pockets we're going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and use a different tool. I'm going to use our rectangle tool. I'm going to select that, and now we get a couple options that come up here. I'm going to use the rounded rectangle tool because this is basically a rectangle with the corners kind of shaved off. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to go right where this rectangle finishes. So right in the corner here. I'm going to go ahead and draw a rectangle. So I think we have everything in there that we need. We want to make sure that all of it is in. We don't want to come up short like that and leave this section out. So I'm going to make it even a little bit bigger. So I'm going to finish this, click it, and now the final command is rounding off the edges. So you do that just by moving the mouse in or out. So I'm going to move that in to round them off. And I'm just going to click it one more time, and that finishes off this curve here. So now I want to add one more pocket that connects our volume control pocket to this pickup. The way our wiring is, we're going to have a wire that's going to travel from here to this control knob, and we want a pocket so that we can run the wire through this channel right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the rectangle tool again, select the rounded one, and I want it to ultimately end up on a diagonal across here, but I can't draw it in a diagonal. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw it on the x-axis. I'm going to make it about half the width of our volume control pocket here. So that looks like about half. I'm going to round those off there too. And now we have it here. So now we want to rotate it so that it's sitting between this pocket and this pocket. Sorry, I zoomed in a bit there. So I find the easiest way to navigate in Rhino Cad is just using the help, and whatever you want it to ultimately do, just type it in like you're asking the program a question. So I'm going to just go type in rotate. So we get a bunch of different options here for rotate. So the first one that says rotate is in view. So this isn't the one we want, but I'm going to show you this happens quite frequently when people use this tool. They click on the wrong one and then something happens and they kind of get lost. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this. I want to rotate this, so I click on it. Sorry, I'm just going to hit that again. And I actually rotated the whole plane there. And that isn't what I wanted to do. I just wanted to rotate this. So if this happens to you, the easiest way to get back to the top view where everything is kind of lined up properly is just go view, set view, and right now you can see we're in the top view here. So I'm just going to hit top, and then it just brings us right back to where we're supposed to be. So now I'm going to go back here, rotate is still typed in. So I'm going to look through all these, and this is the one I want, transform, rotate. So we want to transform this curve that we just drew by rotating it. So I'm going to select that. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to be select the object that we want to transform. Go back to rotate. And the first point that you select is the point that the object rotates around. So I'm going to select the back point here. My final one is the end point. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see it because there's a white background, but we have a circle appearing around this whole thing. So as I rotate it, we're kind of rotating it through this. So this is 90 degrees, 0 degrees. I'm going to put it on about a 45-degree angle. You could also type it into here, 45, and that'll set it on a 45-degree angle. So now I want to make sure it's in the perfect spot. Zoom out a bit so we can see. So we want it to be kind of equal distance between this pocket and this pocket, but we don't want it to fall outside of the pick guard here because we're going to see all of this with the final product. Anything underneath the pick guard here is going to be covered. So the final thing we want to do in this step is we want to trace out our neck pocket. So again, we could use our curve tool here, but I want to make sure to get a nice straight edge along the line. So I'm going to use the rounded rectangle tool. So I'm going to select that, go rounded. I'm going to look at these two lines here, and I'm going to kind of figure out where they would meet. So I'll be right about there. Zoom out. And I'm going to select it right there so that I know it's covering everything down here. And it's fine if it goes outside of the guitar. We want to make sure it's in front of the guitar too. It's just going to make life a lot easier when we're doing Boolean splits later on. We're going to learn about that. So I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to finish that off, and I'm going to round the edges in to match up. So that matches the diagram pretty much perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that. You can see now kind of a bit of a gap here. I'm just going to kind of move it down. Select the curve. So it looks pretty good. We're right in line with everything. It's fine that we're outside of the pocket here. We'll learn more about that later on. So zoom out to see everything we have. So for this stage, I'm completely done with my background blueprint here. So I'm just going to select that. You can see it goes yellow. Everything is selected yellow. I'm just going to hit delete. And we can see everything that we worked on today is there perfectly. And I'm going to rename this layer by double clicking it. I'm just going to call it outline. Press enter. That's going to be really important for organizing our layers as we start doing more and more things to our two-dimensional object, creating it 3D, adding different pockets, stuff like that. So that's going to be all for our lesson today.